The comeback kids, the Toronto Blue Jays, have done it. They beat the Diamondbacks 5-4. A great day from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And the first walk-off home run of the season coming off the bat of Addison Barger. Oh, there's a lot to talk about. Injuries. Oh, my goodness.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. As always, I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5Iwasco. Carter First, too, as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. You can also follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you haven't already, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. It does help us out. It's free to do so. You might as well. You get your podcast, your shorts, your live streams, your videos, the whole ordeal. And look at this. The boys are back. We're in the blue and white pinstripes for our slow pitch team, not the Yankees. Let's not get that confused. And I'm back in Manitoba, back with Carter, one door down from him. And we're rolling. Not only are we rolling, the Toronto Blue Jays are rolling with a absolute stunning game, stunning finish. And what I don't know if there's a better player to get it done than Addison Barger right now with the absolute hype that's surrounding him at the moment. But Carter, I guess a lot to go in, just first immediate feelings that you've had sort of post-game here.
What a way to bounce back after a very disappointing series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Not necessarily saying that was unexpected. The sweep was, but a series lost to the Phillies. It did feel like the Toronto Blue Jays were heading to that direction. This game sort of felt like it was over, I'm not going to lie, in that ninth inning. We were watching it on the way to back from slow pitch, had it on in the dugout, and then just, following along as the game kind of goes through. Jays get up early, 2-0, and then 3-2. It feels like they're going to struggle to get runs, and then Bichette launches a splitter, absolutely hammers that pitch, and then Addison Barger, are you kidding me, back-to-back home runs. Two people did it last year. I think, was it Loperfido and Barger? I can't remember exactly who we did have as back-to-back launches, but it was the same sort of idea, bottom of the inning. You have two solo shots. Barger was one of them. You guys might know in the comment section. Maybe you are absolutely just punching your screen, trying to figure out, or just like say, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. But that did happen last year, happen again this year. It is never not going to be fun watching Addison Barger square up a baseball. Oh my God, that ball was absolutely launched. And it like kind of what you said. There's really a better player that could have did it, maybe other than Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who got his own one this game that we will talk about as well. But Barger hits a home run, Bichette hits a home run, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits a home run. I don't care that they were all solo shots. It's going to be a fun day of baseball if those three are launching for your baseball team.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I don't want to gloss over the Vladdy fact of it all because he had a great game. We're going to get more into that. I just want to let you guys know we will talk about some roster moves that might be happening, injuries, the whole ordeal, and obviously we will tee up game 2 for you guys, so just stick around for all of that because the injury list is long right now, and some adjustments are going to have to be made to this roster. Obviously, some guys are close to coming back, so we'll talk about all that. But, yeah, you know what, Carter? I guess let's start with I don't want to start with Vladdy because I think there's a lot to get into there. Let's start with Chris Bassitt himself going into this game. I guess first thoughts, feelings, performance. What do you got?
Yeah, threw a lot of cutters and sinkers in this game. Was doing a very good job at kind of working that sinker inside in the plate, working it low in the zone, just placing it. It really seemed like wherever Chris Bassitt wanted in this game. Goes out in the first inning. You can tell Chris Bassitt's going to have a good outing. Kind of takes care of business against Corbin Carroll. Gets a strikeout there. Ketel Marte, very good at bat pitching wise for Chris Bassitt. And then you move on, obviously, and get Perdomo as well. Just felt like Chris Bassitt was going to give you a very good chance to win, and that's exactly what he did. Got 11 whiffs on the day. Kind of the typical Chris Bassitt stat line that we're accustomed to seeing. 6 innings pitched. I believe it was 6 hits. Correct me if I'm wrong there. You're but right. 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. So a very good start from Chris Bassitt, an inning eater, a guy that you can throw out there this year, and you're probably the most certain in the performance that he is going to give you out of all the pitchers so far this season. That's just who Chris Bassitt is. He's going to go out there, pitch to contact it, get himself into some jams, but also get himself out of some jams. Any sort of pitcher, whether it's Kevin Gausman, Bowden Francis, Alek Manoah, It could be even a guy like Ricky Tiedemann if he does come back at some point. If they're going to give me 6 innings pitch of 3 earned runs, I'm going to take that every single day of the week. That's what starting pitcher's role is, to keep you in the game and give you a chance to win, and that's exactly what Chris Bassitt did. Really only throwing 3 pitches of his 1 million that he does have. So it doesn't necessarily have to use all of his pitches every single day. If you have some stuff that is working, you have the cutter, the sinker, the curveball that's working for you, stick with what's working. And with Chris Bassitt, if he trusts his stuff, then he is going to get outs, and that's exactly what he did against the D-backs.
Yeah, Carter, and I know the biggest argument with pitchers that have a lot of pitches is that maybe you try to overthrow some. You're utilizing the more based on rather than, I guess, what is specifically working that day. But I think with a pitcher that has a lot of stuff, if you can find out which of those pitches is working early in a ball game and use that towards your advantage. And I think Chris Bassitt this entire season really has done a fantastic job of understanding what is working and what isn't throughout his games in a game-to-game basis. So shout out Chris Bassitt. Again, 3 runs. Some people are going to be like, well, it's 3 runs. Does that give you this team the chance to win ball games? Well, lately, yes. Yes, this offense has been able to score runs. So giving up 3 runs isn't the most end of the world situation here. So shout out Chris Bassitt. Carter, just before we get into Vladdy, a little bit on Brendan Little. I know there's a lot of people that have been a little bit iffy on Brendan Little as of late. He looks like he doesn't have quite his best stuff. But again, this is a 162-game ball season, and guys are going to go through peaks and valleys, especially guys that are a little bit, I don't want to say diamond in the rough because I don't necessarily think that's what Brendan Little was. But again, you're going to have peaks and valleys with all of these guys. And maybe we're just in a little bit of a lull here with Brendan Little. I don't think he's been horrible. I just don't think he's been quite at his best.
A lot of it is just seemingly being the command with Brendan Little. It seems like he's getting himself into advantage counts, and he is just struggling to get maybe some of the swing and miss. He's still getting swing and miss, but just have that competitive pitch, that put away pitch to get hitters swinging at a ball. Maybe it's in the dirt, maybe it's just off the plate, but it seems like he is having some trouble finding the competitive pitch later on in these counts and getting that pitch to finish hitters off. Because even in this game, he throws 19 pitches, 9 of them are strikes. That is under 50% of pitches that you are throwing for strikes. If hitters are starting to realize that he's throwing that knuckle curve in the dirt all the time, or maybe he's not locating his fastball properly, you can kind of eliminate one of those pitches. It's going to make Brendan Little a lot easier to attack. So Brendan Little is going to be successful. Every pitcher pretty much is going to be successful when they are throwing strikes, when they are locating, and you want to play off of those strike calls, the pitch tunneling. If you can throw your fastball kind of at the knees, locate your fastball very well, that would give you more luxury to throw that knuckle curve kind of in the dirt, maybe off the outside part of the plate to engage some more swing and miss. So with Brendan Little, it's just the command. And that's a lot of the time what it is with a lot of these pitchers when they start to struggle is their command starts to go. Doesn't necessarily look like a mechanical issue with Brendan Little right now. I can't necessarily put my finger on it, but you're right. Something definitely has changed in these last couple of weeks. It's not necessarily that he's pitching bad, but he is starting to have some troubles in some instances later on the baseball games where they are using him in high leverage, which is fully deserving, but something to definitely keep an eye out on if you are a Toronto Blue Jays fan and you are looking at this bullpen that already does have some high leverage injuries. They got to rely on Brendan Little, and they're going to continue to do that until he gives them a reason not to.
Yeah, exactly, right? You got to stay with your guys. You can't just give up on somebody after a little bit of a tough stretch, because otherwise a lot of these players on this team would have been demoted already. So you can't be doing that. You got to sort of ride the waves with some of these guys, and especially guys that you think can have more success moving forward. And I do believe Brendan Little is one of those guys. I'm not fully out on him. I know there are people that are starting to turn the table. I'm not one of those quite yet. I think he can still bounce back and continue to be a very good ball player. But Carter, we got to talk a little bit in-game stuff here. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., what a day, 3 for 4, that with an absolute monster home run, to say the least. That thing you knew was gone. The immediate, I don't even think you needed to see it. You just needed to hear the sound of the bat, and you knew that ball was gone.
Yeah, he absolutely hammered that thing. 448 feet, 112 miles per hour off the bat. That was one of those where he swings and you're like, yeah, that ball, I don't know if it's going to land. It might still be in the air at this point right now. We've been waiting for this from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I'm not going to say that he's completely back because it's one game. I understand that. But you get a guy that drives in 3 of your 5 runs in the baseball game, really keeps your offense afloat until that 9th inning. And obviously, stuff happens. A lot of fun in that 9th inning, which we will get into. But what a game from Vladdy. In the first inning, Barger hits a double. He has a very good swing and an inside pitch. We both kind of looked at that in awe a little bit today. Gets his hands inside quickly, swings through the baseball, barrels it up, pulls it into the left field down the line into left field. So that's a very good swing with Vladdy. I mean, we could watch that swing over and over and over again. In that second, AB absolutely mashes that baseball and then comes up later on in the game as well in a tough spot, grounds a ball through the infield and accounts for the 3 runs at that point for the Toronto Blue Jays. This team is 6 games over 500 without Vladdy really catching his hot stride. And there has been some graphics coming out, and we have obviously heard this notion that he is a slow starter, that he has similar stats to what he did last year. Me looking at him right now, unless he's going to go on that insanity run, because that's what it's going to take for him to put up those insane numbers again. He definitely has it in him. We saw it last season, but to rely on that back-to-back seasons maybe is not exactly what you want to do. But if you're looking at where you'd rather have Vladdy be productive, if you want him to have production at the start of the season or at the end of the season, the second half, I'm taking the second half every day of the week. And hopefully this can be the start of a little Vladdy momentum swing, and maybe he can start carrying this offense for a few baseball games, especially if he doesn't even have to do that. They can all start clashing together. You get Bo firing, Santander comes back. I mean, now you're going to be like, who are you going to? Arjun Amala might have to play for this baseball team with the amount of injuries that we're having, but it might be a little bit different. So this would be a big spot with all the injuries that this team is having for Vladdy to take that step and start crushing baseballs more consistently.
Yeah, and you're right. Vladdy hasn't had to be that guy this season, the guy that's going to go out there and you hope that he does something because he might be the only one that does. That isn't the case this season. It's the by committee approach. I've talked about it a ton on the podcast here and there when I've been on. I know I've been on for a week until this week, so maybe you've heard it less. But it's the by committee approach. You need everybody to be a successful baseball team and to be a World Series team. And not saying that this team is, but you have to have a by committee approach. Everyone has to be doing their job and coming out in a game where your top 3 don't have it. You need the bottom to pick the top up. And if the bottom isn't working out, well, you need your top 3 best players to be your best players. It's as simple as that. Everybody needs to have their games, and you don't need everybody going every single game, but to win as many as you need to get deep into the playoffs, everybody's got to have their moment. And we're seeing a lot of moments happen from a lot of these Toronto Blue Jays. So that was absolutely great to see. Carter, I know we want to talk about the 9th inning and sort of the rest of the game here. Let's take a quick break. I think we'll come back. We'll talk that. And then obviously we got to talk the amount of injuries, roster moves, everything that's going to happen over the next couple of, I would say, next week and a half here. Guys coming back, some players leaving with injury out of this game. So things are going to have to change here in Blue Jays land. Now, what will those be? We'll let you guys in on all that when we come back.
Today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money just isn't a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending on one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. As soon as Braden started using Monarch Money, he didn't go on any vacations. Now he's going on 4, 5, 6 vacations a year with the help of Monarch Money. He is budgeting a ton. It's probably because he's saving money on some of those hats. But realistically, he has been using Monarch Money. I have been as well, for a little bit of different reasons. We both have had some issues with eating out, obviously coming from a small town. Have a lot more at our disposal right now. We racked up some DoorDash, some skip the dishes bills very quickly. Got Monarch Money, realized, holy crap, we are spending a ton of money on fast food. It's not even on the food. It was on delivery charges, pretty much everything that they do add to those food orders. So we got Monarch Money, realized how much we were spending and cut our costs immensely and had a lot more money to just build wealth and save for the future. You guys can take control of your finances as well with Monarch Money today. And if you use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, you can get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
So, Carter, as we continue on here, I did say we got to talk about the 9th inning because, oh my God. But then obviously we got to get into the injuries, the roster moves, everything that went down. We got to say a see you later to one of the Blue Jays that I think was loved by both of us. I know you were big on him, but we will get into all of that coming up. But first, the 9th inning, Hoffman goes out there and shuts the door just as you need him to. And then it's all Bichette and Addison Barger from there on out. Carter, I mean, just the feeling of the inning, right? When Jeff Hoffman goes in and gets the shutdown in the top of the 9th to give you an opportunity down 1 run, I think that's a huge, huge moment for Jeff Hoffman and this ball club, right? Instead, if Hoffman goes in there and gives up a run or a couple hits, maybe it drags the momentum right out of you. But I think it shows this offense that, hey, we're giving you a chance. And sure enough, they come through.
See, this was a good outing from Jeff Hoffman, but it wasn't necessarily his pitching that really won me over in this one. Is that he picked off Perdomo at first base. That was a massive play in this game. He walks Perdomo off rip, and I believe it's Josh Naylor who hammers a ball to center field. Not looking like the most confident we have seen Jeff Hoffman in previous starts. Again, he has had his fair share of blowups this year. That's why that ERA is absolutely inflated. Jeff Hoffman has been a pretty good pitcher in totality this season. Some people won't tell you that, but you look at the stats, you look at just the saves, the blown saves, just where we've needed him in these big moments. He has done pretty well. But again, there has been some uncertainty with Jeff Hoffman. He definitely hasn't been exactly what we've wanted. Has been better than Jordan Romano. That's not really, the greatest comparison there, because Jordan Romano not really doing great things, but he makes that pickoff attempt at first base. It literally has Perdomo hung out to dry and just kind of settles in, gets Suarez right after that. And you start to feel a little bit more optimistic that this Toronto Blue Jays team can come back once again. My biggest thing in the ninth inning, watching that bottom of the ninth inning, was just somebody needs to get on. That's what I was hoping for, because Vladdy having such a good game, having very good at-bats, to get Vladdy up to the plate, maybe have a chance to win this game. They don't get Vladdy up to the plate, and clearly they took care of business themselves. Shelby Miller throwing splitters, not really working out too well against the top two in this order. Bichette absolutely hammers a ball to left field. Things felt pretty good at that point. I was very confident the Toronto Blue Jays were actually going to win in that bottom of the ninth inning. As soon as this team comes back in those moments, it has happened a lot, it seems like, this season. I don't have the actual stat, but just based off the eye test, based off watching some of these games, there has been a lot of times, obviously, when you look at the comeback wins this team has. I think it's 22 now after this win here. So they have the ability to come back. We've known that for a very long time. As soon as Bichette hits that home run, I did feel the Toronto Blue Jays were going to win. I did not feel like Addison Barger was going to launch, I think, 3 pitches later, whatever it ended up being. Might have 2-2 count. Doesn't matter. Again, it's a splitter. Lower in the zone. Addison Barger is all over it, and he gives some emotion after that. Absolutely pimps the baseball. I mean, I'm getting fired up too. I'm yelling. I'm probably saying that everybody sucks and I'm the greatest human being of all time if I'm in that. Maybe a little bit more cocky than Addison Barger would have been, but man, what a swing, what a player, and what a game from the Toronto Blue Jays. Really keeping us on our toes, it seems to be this season. It's a lot more fun when these games happen, especially when you're going to arise on the good side of it the majority of the time, it seems like, especially recently.
Yeah, and you know what, Carter? You got to give Addison Barger props. In a 2-2 count, some guys would just try to, punch something, get on base, do what you got to do, work a count. Instead, Addison Barger finds a pitch he wants and sends it to the moon. And so good on him taking a healthy hack in a situation. Now, don't get me wrong, if it goes the other way and I see him swing out of his boots for one, and ends up striking out, maybe I have a different feeling. But as of right now, with him sending that ball, I have nothing but excitement and everything that goes along with that. So, huge shout out, huge end of that game for Addison Barger. Seeing him trot around the bases, the team swarming him at home. Vladdy with the 2 water bucket dumps on Addison Barger. Just a great game. And I go back and say it because me and you watch a lot of baseball. It's these games that make you love it, right? It's this game. I think we saw one with Davis Schneider. I don't know if I think that must have been the beginning of last year or maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, it definitely would not have been this year, unfortunately, for your king, Davis Schneider.
Yeah, no, not quite this year. But there are just moments in seasons that I think gives you more hope of what a team can be. And I think that right now we're seeing a very solid Toronto Blue Jays team. And yes, there are injuries that plague this team right now. That's going to test this team because you don't have every single guy that you would roll out there for playoff game number 1. And that's a problem. But I think we've seen resilience with this club that shows that it doesn't always necessarily matter because some guys are going to step up in big moments. But in saying that, there are a ton of injuries, Carter. Me and you were sort of going through them, trying to pick out everybody that was injured while on the car ride home. I don't know if we were doing a brain teaser with each other or not, but because there were that many that it was hard to keep track of. Just you can't even use your fingers, Carter. There's that many injuries on this ball club. So why don't you give everybody a rundown of who all's out, and then we'll get into obviously the player that was DFA'd as well, sadly.
Yeah, I'll start with the two that got hurt in the win against the D-backs. So first you have John DeClasse in, I believe it was the top of the 4th inning. He has an at-bat. Brandon Fod throws the fastball inside, hits him. He would have been a left-handed hitter, so that would have been his right knee. Out with a right knee contusion. Got hit pretty hard. It looked like on the inside part of the knee. Not a great spot to be hit when it's not especially flush with that knee if you get on the left or right side. As soon as it's on one of the, again, not flush, it's going to hurt a whole lot more. Hopefully it is just a bruise. Hopefully it's just kind of just a day-to-day thing. No IL step for John DeClasse. Wouldn't have been as big of a deal if the thing in the next inning did not happen. So defensive replacement for John DeClasse is Miles Straw. And Josh Naylor hits a ball to deep center field. Miles Straw smacks his head on the wall, kind of pulling an Alan Roden from game 3 of this last series, but except doesn't make the catch, clearly shaken up. I'm going to say it right now, probably has a concussion. A little bit unfortunate there. So that is probably going to be another 7-day IL stint for Miles Straw. So now just going over who is hurt on this Toronto Blue Jays team. We're starting to get quite the roster here, which is not a good thing, especially when you're not even halfway through the season. But just looking at the outfielders, you have 5 outfielders now that are probably going to miss the next game at minimum. You have 3 on the IL right now for sure. Probably going to be 4 with Miles Straw. Have to see what happens to Classe, but it's Daulton Varsho, your starting center fielder, your platinum glove, debatably platinum glove for sure, gold glove center fielder. Anthony Santander, not a good fielder, but again, traditionally is a good power bat to have in your lineup. Nathan Lucas has been very good this season. Another guy on the IL with that concussion when he hit Ernie Clement, going for a fly ball. And then you had John Classe getting hit in the knee, and then you have Miles Straw, who is hurt as well. So who does that leave you? Like when we were looking at just watching the rest of the game, we're like, who in the hell is going to play outfield? Like Will Robertson just got pulled up, was playing center field, and that's not exactly what you want to see necessarily, but you didn't have any other options. Like Addison Barger's playing right field. Now when you look at this team, there's obviously going to be some roster moves, but if there was no roster moves tomorrow, your outfield is what? Davis Schneider in left, Barger in right, and then Will Robertson in center. I guess you have Alan Roden as well to kind of mix in there. Maybe he takes over left field, but not a lot of options and not a lot of guys that have a lot of MLB service time. So this outfield is going to look very interesting for the near future. You do have Nathan Lucas coming back sooner than later. Miles Straw not going to be out for crazy long. And luckily your schedule does get a little bit easier. But when you want to take advantage of the Diamondbacks, you want to take advantage of the White Sox, it's going to be hard to do that when you're just piling up injuries. And I'm going to quickly just rifle through the pitching injuries as well, just go over it in totality. So you got 5 hitters that are injured. You also have Max Scherzer, who again is close to coming back. Alek Manoah, who is still hurt. Bowden Francis, who has been put on the 15-day IL. Nick Sandlin should be very close to coming back. Jimmy Garcia, another one, again, a little bit later, still about a week and a half out. Ryan Burr, who keeps starting to get delayed. Jake Bloss, who was hurt this season as well. And I threw Ricky Tiedemann in here. So that is 11 players. That's 11 players, not including Jake Bloss and Ricky Tiedemann. 13 players, including those guys. That's quite the IL list, unfortunately, for the Jays. And they're still somehow winning baseball games.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you do now, right? So just a couple things I want to go off some of those injuries because there are a couple talking points there. Is this the sign that we see Joey Loperfido get the call? I think probably, right? So again, how happy are you with that? It's a situation that you're put in. Is he ready? I don't know. I can't be the one to say that. Again, I think we saw what we needed to from him last season, that he could come in and play some solid defensive center field. So I'm not necessarily worried about him there. It's what can he bring with the bat? And I think that we will see a move accordingly, probably in the next, if not day, a couple days, to bring him up to the squad. The Max Scherzer part of it all, Carter. So he has one more start yet back in AAA, and then the Toronto Blue Jays look to have him back with the team probably starting next week. So as much injuries as there are, you do have players coming back. And I think out of anything, the most important thing right now is not having a 4 or 5 of dead arm Bowden Francis right now. Lauer, who's been pretty solid, to be honest, and a bullpen day. Those are your options. So Max Scherzer coming back could be absolutely massive. It's just, again, what Max Scherzer are we going to see? There's a lot of question marks here. And that's what injuries will do. Doesn't matter if you're the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Blue Jays or the Athletics. Injuries can greatly affect your ball club. And it can give some guys opportunities to shine, absolutely, a little bit. Again, like we said, diamond in the rough with some of the pull-ups that you have to do. But in the same sense, I'm very thrilled to hopefully see again. I don't want to say for sure, the Max Scherzer return. I think that is number one, the biggest gain here that we're going to get in the next week or so.
Yeah, and they have him making obviously one more start, as you said. Should be with the team. We're hoping at some point next week. So you got another week without Max Scherzer. He'll be looking to throw from Schneider 70 to 75 pitches in his rehab start for AAA Buffalo. That's from John Schneider. So he should be pretty close. And if you can get 75, 80 pitches from Max Scherzer, even if he can eat, again, 4 or 5 innings, when we've seen from Bowden Francis, he hasn't necessarily been doing that recently. You can get that from Max Scherzer, hopefully with a little bit less runs given up. That will be huge for this baseball team. I just wanted to correct myself. Miles Straw, it looked like a concussion. It looked like he absolutely smacked his head on the wall, and there might be some concussion symptoms there. The Blue Jays have it as a right ankle sprain. That's probably worse, unfortunately, for Miles Straw, especially depending on the significance of that. That could be like a 10-day IL thing. That could be, depending on the severity, could be up to a month. Didn't look horrible for the ankle side of things. But again, we're not on the field. We're not in the training staff. So we'll have to see as more stuff does come out with those guys. But as for the outfield, like you said, Joey Loperfido probably going to be a guy that is called up for this baseball team, a guy that you got in a trade for Yusei Kikuchi, has had a little bit of major league experience as well. Another guy that they could pull up here is Riley Terada. He could play third base or the outfield, the corner outfield position, a little bit more of a power back guy as well. So that would give you some more options. It really depends on where Jonathan Clase is in all of this as well. If he hits the IL, then you're going to have some trouble here as well. Nathan Lucas is going to be making a rehab start in AAA Buffalo on Wednesday, so the day that this does come out. But he's going to probably play 2-3 games there, so maybe you get him for Friday is probably the hope for the White Sox series, and maybe that solves a little bit. But looking at what the outfield is going to look like, even if you pull up those guys, at best, let's say Jonathan Clase gets some good news and somehow doesn't really miss a lot of time. Like, who's your outfield? It's Addison Barger maybe out there because you just want his bat in the lineup and just to have a body out there. Maybe you give Will Robertson some time, Jonathan Clase, Alan Roden. Like, there's not the greatest names out there necessarily. So when we talk about Vladdy, we talk about the stars playing like superstars, it kind of all loops in. The bottom of the order has been carrying this team predominantly throughout the season. Now is the time for these big dogs to step up, especially when you're having some of these guys that have been producing for your team getting injured, and a lot of these bottom of the order guys are even less proven than they were before. I don't think it's fair to assume that the production will continue. It's Vladdy time. It's Bo time. It's Alejandro Kirk time. Hopefully continue to be dominant. It's starting to slow up a little bit, which is anticipated. Like, he was on an absolute run. You get Santander back. You get Varsho back. You get Varsho back first. You just need to stay afloat. That is going to be the biggest thing. And it's all going to start with what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette can do with all of these players down.
Yeah, Carter, and we got a bunch more to get into. Obviously, we want to tee up game 2 for you guys as well. Our thoughts and feelings on sort of how we think that one's going to go, just with just looking at matchups, looking at, like we said, the sort of roster that is going to be fielded by this Toronto Blue Jays team. Also, just some bad news here. Maybe, depending on how you feel about this guy. A guy was DFA'd. We're going to tell you all about that when we return after this short break. Oh, this one I utilized. Trade coffee. For those of you guys don't know, I'm a big coffee guy. It is my go-to every single day. It is an essential for me. And why would I settle for anything less than amazing? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. I had so much of this over my holiday, you guys would not believe. I was on the coffees nonstop. So whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuttling kids back and forth to activities, or tackling an endless to-do list, your morning sets the tone for it all. That's why it should start with the perfect cup of coffee crafted just for you. I'm telling you guys, you got to try Trade Coffee. It is my absolute go-to. Carter can attest to this. I have it pretty much stocked in this house all the time, because if I'm waking up in the morning, it doesn't matter if I have an early shift, a late shift. Some days, if I get back early and I have a really early morning, I might have a second, third cup, depending how my day is going. And that's why Trade Coffee is so good. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering Locked On Blue Jays customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. All right, Carter, I guess we should start with the sort of sad news, I guess, for me and you, because me and you were fans of this guy. Erik Swanson has been DFA'd by the Toronto Blue Jays, and I think a move that I think even dating back to last year, as much as we want to say there was a bounce back imminent, maybe the Blue Jays didn't feel that way, and he has been DFA'd. Carter, I don't know. How do you feel? You were a big Erik Swanson guy. Is this the one that sort of tugs on the heartstrings a little bit, or are you sort of at peace with this?
Well, as soon as Nick Castellanos hits a home run off him, he is the bringer of bad things. So I kind of had a feeling that Erik Swanson wasn't really going to last too much longer after that grand slam. It's tough when you look at just how dominant this guy was in 2023. And it also sucks when like everything that's we've been hearing recently has been, oh, you traded this guy for Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah. We've talked about it. Not the greatest trade in the grand scheme of things. That's not Erik Swanson's fault. Erik Swanson wasn't the one that's like, oh yeah, I'm worth Teoscar Hernandez. I don't want that guy on the team. I don't want to play with that guy. Like it's not up to him whatsoever. Erik Swanson has been good. I think he can be good next season. Just has been dealing with some injuries. You look at the velo is down. The splitter isn't really splitting necessarily. And when the hitters can lay off that splitter, we've seen it with Gausman when he struggled. We've seen it with Bowden and Francis. When you don't have one of your two pitches, it's a lot easier to hit the other pitches, especially when it's not 95, 96 anymore. It's 91, 92. So clearly this is kind of like a Jordan Romano instance a little bit here. I think Jordan Romano still has more in the tank. I think Erik Swanson still has more in the tank. But with the way things were going right now, is the way the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen looks, with Braden Fisher pitching very well. Yeah. Mason Flaherty, Brendan Little, Yariel Rodriguez, like Paxton Schultz, who was recalled to the Toronto Blue Jays in this move again. Expected, but definitely does hurt a little bit. I've always been a big Erik Swanson guy. I think that he can be returned to being successful once again. I think some team will take a chance on him. But as for where the current Toronto Blue Jays are right now, just with their current bullpen situation, I don't love it like in the heart, but mentally, if you're talking about just the business of baseball, it does make sense, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is a sad to say, but good problem to have for the Toronto Blue Jays. You took a shot on a lot of bullpen arms this year, and trying to find out which one was going to be successful, and every successful team ends up finding those diamond in the rough guys. And what has that done to Erik Swanson? It's pushed him out. There has been guys that have had very successful seasons so far, and eventually push comes to shove and a move has to be made, and this had to be it. So it is what it is. I like Erik Swanson, but this isn't one for me that breaks the bank or really stabs me in the heart. I like the guy. I think he has lots of potential. I think he still can get better, just as you said, Carter. But I'm sort of thrilled that this is the way this bullpen went this season, in the terms of growing, getting better, finding pieces. I am more thrilled that we're in this position where we have to let a guy that me and you both think could be better and still get better go, because there are just so many good options. So again, good problem to have for this 2025 Toronto Blue Jays team.
See, for me still, I know that Chad Green's fastball is playing a little bit better than Swanson is right now. Well, a little might be a little bit of an understatement. I mean, he's throwing 95, 96. Swanson again throwing like 91, 92. But I rather have given up moonball Chad Green with him giving up a home run every single performance, it seems like, than with Erik Swanson, especially when he is coming off of an injury, and you saw how good he was in 2024. I think Chad Green might be the next one, because you still have Yimi Garcia coming back. You still have Nick Sandlin coming back. And Braden Fisher has to be on the team right now, the way he's pitching. I don't think that is really up for debate at this point. Even though he does have options, I don't care at this point. We have Chad Green, Erik Swanson. These guys are on their final years of a contract. And the whole identity of this baseball team is that they want to win, and they're in win now mode. You can't really wait for some veteran guys like Erik Swanson and Chad Green to go out and maybe blow some games for you when you're in a divisional race, when you're in a playoff race, when you're in a pennant race. It just didn't really make a lot of sense for where the Toronto Blue Jays were trying to get to still have Erik Swanson and even honestly Chad Green on this baseball team. With Chad Green, if you throw him in lower leverage, maybe I'm still willing to give this guy a shot, because he was pretty solid last year, especially when you didn't have a lot of bullpen arms. But I'm sick of seeing Chad Green being thrown in the eighth inning, especially when you have Little, Fluharty, Jimmy Garcia when he comes back, Yariel Rodriguez, Sandlin when he's going to be here, Braden Fisher I'd rather have than Chad Green in these instances. So it's really just about the management of Chad Green. I think he can kind of make that work, but a little bit unfortunate to see Erik Swanson, a guy that I really liked. You liked as well, but I was a little bit more of an Erik Swanson guy, obviously, than you were. Just tough to see. But going over the entire transaction, all of the roster moves, Paxton Schultz, like I said, was called from the AAA team and was active for this previous game, the first game against the D-backs. Justin Bruihl was selected to the Major League roster. He's a left-handed pitcher. He was active in the game. Didn't see him pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays, but this will be a guy that might give you a little bit of longer relief out of the bullpen. And then Bowden Francis. I just want to hear your opinion on this. So Bowden Francis placed on the 15-day IL. It says it's a right shoulder impingement. It was found that Bowden Francis had no structural damage in his shoulder. Not really surprising to me whatsoever. But Arden Zwelling came from out with a blurb here. This is from John Schneider. So John Schneider said about Bowden. Bowden Francis has been dealing with a right shoulder impingement for 2 to 3 starts now, says Blue Jays manager John Schneider. Had some imaging done, only inflammation. Are you believing this, or is this just the typical phantom IL stint that we haven't necessarily seen from the Toronto Blue Jays in a little bit here?
Carter, this reminds me of when I would have food poisoning at an old job, right? And me and you both worked at the same gas bar growing up, and maybe you went out to a party Saturday night and Sunday you were scheduled to work and you ended up having food poisoning. That's what this is.
Yeah, you ate some bad things at that party. It wasn't like, maybe some of the beverages that you were having. It was probably chips and dip, or maybe like the veggie tray that's probably never at parties. Let's be honest. We'd be lucky if there's food out at some of the parties that we go to.
Carter, I was gonna say it's not the 25 beers me passed out on somebody's lawn. It's the one chip and dip I ate that night. Yeah. Not so much.
Must have been the bad pizza I had 3 months ago. It's finally coming up now. I'm not sure what's going on here.
That's right.
But yeah, it just with the way Bowden Francis has been pitching, he didn't have a lot going for him initially. And I'm a Bowden Francis guy. I think this guy can still figure it out. But when you just have been start after start after start where he hasn't had it, are you even before these last 2 to 3 starts, he still wasn't pitching good, and now he had an injury, and you're still going to try to make it work? I get that there's not a lot of options for the starting rotation, but there's no way that's just not a phantom IL stem. But credit to the Toronto Blue Jays for finally realizing, hey, Bowden is not giving you a good outing. He's not giving you a chance to win. Something has to change, and they didn't want to send him down. Obviously, they still want to have him in the starting rotation. That's what John Schneider has said. They still want him stretched out in the event of an injury. It is baseball, but credit to the Blue Jays for probably doing it a little bit late. But I think with the Max Scherzer news, it was a little bit easier of a decision for this front office.
Yeah, they were put in a tough position. I don't think there was a right way to handle this necessarily, because there isn't that many guys that you can feel comfortable bringing up to make a start here, especially when you already have Eric Lauer going for that 5th spot. So I think that they were just put between a rock and a hard place, and finally with Scherzer coming back, they might have an option here. So I think it's just a tough look for this team, and that's something they finally had to do, and they finally had the opportunity to do. And yeah, phantom injury for sure, I think. But again, I will never say that definitively because I'm not in the doctor's room. I'm not Bowden Francis, but at the end of the day, me and you can sit here and make our judgment. I don't think that this would be a shock to anybody, and I'm not going to be somebody that comes on here and tells you, no, well, if they say it's an injury, because that's just not the world we live in, and let's not be led to believe that. So it is what it is. Hopefully Bowden Francis can come back better than ever. Carter, game 2, Eduardo Rodriguez versus Eric Lauer. How do you feel about this one? I think this is another game that's quite gettable, to be honest with you.
Hammer the over. I said it on the series preview when we did this on Monday's episode, or was that Tuesday's episode? Whatever it was earlier this week, I said that this was going to be the easiest over of all time. Hammer those over bets. This might be like an 11-10 score on this game.
Odds are set at 8.5 right now. So those of you that are betting fans, 8.5 runs in this ball game. I think, again, you saw a 9-run ball game in game 1 with 2 better pitchers going. So I think that you're right. But of course it is baseball, so we say that, and then it's going to be a 2-1 ball game. So who actually ever knows? But as always, guys, sorry, Carter, do you got something
especially with the lineup that now they're going to have to be trotting out. They might be like we might as well be trotting out after our slow pitch game that we just can't hit in either. So we got absolutely blown out today. Besides the point, but it's going to be an interesting game for sure, especially when your outfield may consist of Will Robertson, Allen Roden, and and John Clase or Riley Tirada or Joey Loperfido, whoever it ends up being, it's not going to be that household name that anyone knows about. So they're going to have to get production from some. Maybe those guys can produce as well, because it has been like a conveyor belt, and it doesn't really matter who's been hitting for this Toronto Blue Jays team. They have been having productive at bats. But I think this is especially a series now that you're going to have to let your big dogs eat if you want a chance to win a series. And luckily, you did win that first game. So now if you can just split the second half of this series, or this last 2/3 of the series, that will leave you in a very good spot. I just wanted to circle this all the way back to that back-to-back thing I brought up. I looked it up during your ad break. It was August 23rd. It was against the Los Angeles Angels, and it was Joey Loperfido and Addison Barger who went back-to-back. I remember that so clearly. I was fired up. That was like one of the only good things in like the last 2.5 months of the season. I think that's why it sticks out. But hopefully you can see a little bit more of that magic. Right now, no matter what, you're still going to have a top 5 in this order where you have Bichette, Addison Barger, Vladdy, George Springer, and Alejandro Kirk that can do damage. So if you can't get those 5, not even firing all cylinders, just having productive at-bats and quality at-bats, kind of the same thing they have been doing recently, I think this team, especially against Eduardo Rodriguez, who is not a very good pitcher, should be able to score a decent amount of runs. Just kind of depends how the Lauer Hour will perform on this Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. As always, guys, thank you for listening and watching whatever you do. If you do watch on YouTube or you listen on anywhere you can get your podcast, we do appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And we want to hear your thoughts, feelings, comments down below. Don't be afraid to reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram or wherever in the comment section of YouTube. Feel free to do so. We always are happy to answer all your guys' thoughts. If they're just comments and you guys just want to say, hey, we hate the show, that's fine too, I guess. I wouldn't appreciate it as much, but it'd be fine. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.